Hi guys, I'm Oscar here. Today I'm going to talk about malaria for my school science disease projects. This part here is the reference of the main part for every page, the main part of my text. Let's get started. Basically, malaria is caused by protozoans and feed on blood, and it is transit by mosquitoes, and malaria causes more than 1.5 million deaths every year. Underneath the introduction page, there is the structure page. The structure of malaria. This parasite here, it is a single-celled protist. There are 5 kinds of malaria parasite, but the structure of them is very, very similar. There are 3 layers of polar rings here, and then there is the microtubules here to move the proteins inside the parasite. And the mitochondrion here is for the respiratory of the parasite. And this part here is the most unique part. It is called the apicoplast, and it is believed to be the part to invade the hosting cell, which is basically the cell it is going to live in. And there are proteins covering the parasite to bind the hosting cell. Let's move on to the history of malaria. This disease has been first described in the ancient Chinese book in 2700 years before Christ in the Huangdi Neijing. This book described about the symptoms of malaria, which the victims will suffer every day, every other day, and every 3 days. In the 4th century before Christ, it was widely recognized in the ancient Greece, and in the 2nd century before Christ, another Chinese writing said that the Qinghao plant, which is the sweet wormwood, is a medical treatise for malaria. When the Spanish explorer went to Peru, they learned to use the chincona, a tree native to the Andean forest, to cure the wife of the viceroy of Peru, which had malaria, in 1600 AD. This is the first record treatment for malaria in the world. That's mean there is like a lot of treatment for malaria before, but this is the first written one. In the 19th century, people know a lot more about malaria. In 1880, a doctor called Alphonse Leveran in the French military hospital discovered that malaria parasite inside the blood of patient, and he drew this diagram, which is the different stages of the malaria parasite. This is the mature parasite, and this is the parasite just invaded the cell. In 1886, an Italian called Camillo Golgi noticed that there are at least 2 forms of malaria that cause human malaria. One of them is having fever every other day, and one is having a fever every 3 days. In 1897, a British officer called Ronald Ross in the Indian Medical Service found out that malaria is transmitted by mosquitoes, because he found out that mosquitoes also transmit bird malaria from bird to bird. In 1898, a guy called Giovanni Battista Grassi and his team of Italian investigators complete 3 of the 5 malaria parasite that causes human malaria, which are Plasmodium falciparum, which is the most deadliest and most popular in the world, still in the world. The Plasmodium vivax and the Plasmodium malariae, which cause not as much death as the Plasmodium falciparum. In the 20th century, chemists had invented chemicals to kill the mosquitoes. In 1939, a Swiss chemist discovered that a chemical that is created by a German chemist can be helped fighting malaria-carrying mosquitoes, and that chemical is called the dichlorodiphenyl trichloroethane, and also that is known as DDT. DDT helps fighting malaria after World War II, but then it was classified as very persistent to the environment. as it will affect the human and animals' reproduction, and it also affects the liver of animals, so it was banned by lots of countries, including the USA. Currently, there are still a lot of African countries and third world countries still using DDT as it is cheaper than other solution to kill the mosquitoes. Although there are cures for malaria, it is not eradicated yet. Some countries like USA, Canada, and Australia, and a lot of European countries have been freed from malaria. There are almost the whole Africa here, China, India, and South America still suffering from malaria, because and a lot of third world countries too, because they have no money, not enough money to prevent mosquitoes from reproducing, or like China, it is too big and can't control the malaria. And scientists start using a new strategy, not only targeting the mosquitoes, but also the parasite itself, which can survive in human body for a very long period of time. We will talk about that later. The spread of malaria. This is a diagram of the spreading of malaria. The female mosquito, that is the female mosquitoes that spread malaria. They are also known as the night-biting mosquitoes, as this kind of mosquito bite between dusk and dawn. If a non-infected kind of like mosquito bites on the infected human, then the kind of like malaria parasite will reproduce in the mosquito, and then when it takes bite a non-infected human, then the parasite will goes into the human's liver, and then invade the liver cell, and then it will reproduce in it, and then wait till it is mature enough, and then will go into the blood, and then invade some of the like red blood cell, and then if another mosquitoes non-infected mosquitoes bite this infected human, the cycle will restart again. Malaria can be also spread through blood transfusion and organ transplants. Next, we have the symptoms of malaria. After the parasite goes from the mosquito's saliva to our bloodstream, it will travel to our liver, where it will wait there until it's mature enough to go back to the bloodstream. Then it will invade our red blood cells. The virus will multiply in the red blood cell, and every approximately 48 to 72 hours, it will burst open, and a parasite will come out and infect other red blood cells. Every time the red blood cell bursts, you will have fever, chill, sweating, headache, fever, pain, muscular pain, back pain, and nausea, vomiting, and more. Then every 2 to 3 days, it will restart again, because the red blood cell will burst open every 48 to 72 hours, as I said. And the Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium ovale can stay in our liver up to 4 years and reoccurring again, although there is no symptoms in those 4 years. The prevention of malaria. Malaria is mostly in Africa, Central and South America. Going to these places to prevent malaria from you getting malaria. If you really need to go there, ask your doctor for prescription medicine and take it before, during, and after the trip. Also, you should wear long sleeve shirt, long pants, and put on insect repellent to prevent the mosquitoes from biting you. If you are bitten, try not to scratch it, and put on creams or lotions to reduce itches. Cure of malaria. There are 5 kinds of malaria parasite that can cause human malaria. So there are a lot of cures for human malaria. Most of them is using the artemisinin-based combination therapies, which ACTs, which is the extract from the sweet wormwood that the ancient Chinese used it to cure malaria. like I mentioned in the history of malaria. The Plasmodium falciparum, and there are 5 ACTs that are recommended by the World Health Organization. Based on your symptoms, your doctor will pick the most suitable one for you. For the rest of the parasite, they should be treated with chloroquine. But however, most of the parasite are resistant to that. So if it is a resisting parasite, the doctor should use ACT with a longer biological half-life. The side effects of ACT. Although it is the most effective cure found yet, there are results of 3.4% chance of the side effects happening, including diarrhea, nausea, low fever, and more. And it shouldn't be used by a pregnant woman, especially when they're in their first 3 months of pregnancy. So yeah, this is the reference page, and thanks for all the information from these pages. Yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy and learn something from me.